What were the dumbest lies you believed when you were a kid? When I was a child, I got upset after a button came off of my shirt. My mother told me not to worry and that if I placed the button under a rock in the yard, the button fairy would replace it with a quarter. I believed it, and to my mother's dismay, she discovered I had pulled the buttons off of every shirt in my closet. To this day, 40 years later, shirt buttons can still be found under random rocks in my parents' backyard. What happened when you learned about the tooth fairy? Not up, but my mom came into the room in black pants, black jacket, and a black hat. She came over to my bed before I was actually asleep and lifted my head up to put the dollar under. I didn't recognize her, so I thought I was going to get my throat slit or something if the person realized I was awake. I was 7 years old. One of my teachers wanted us to write a letter to a family member or friend or someone. I wrote the letter. Got the envelope. Got the stamp. My mom had worked at the county jail at the time and she suggested I write one of the inmates who never got mail. So I did. I wrote something along the lines of "I'm sorry you're arrested but I hope you get out." I even signed it with my 7-year-old signature. While I was writing the letter my mom had left to get to the store. I asked my older brother what our address was because I needed to put a return address. He said, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. 20500. For those that don't know, that's the address to the White House. I wrote it on the letter and put it with the mail my mom was sending out. Mind you, I grew up in Michigan and never left the state, but I wasn't smart. Years later I went to pick my mom up from work and one of the COs called me Mr. President and I asked why he said that. He mentioned the letter I wrote years prior and how it was a joke in the jail anytime my mom mentioned me. This is one of the funniest stories I've ever read in my life. My parents convinced us that the person knocking on our door on weekend nights when we were asleep was our Uncle Shiloh stopping to say hello. We don't have an Uncle Shiloh. It was the pizza guy. How long did they pull that off? That's some next fucking level parenting right there. Uncle Caesar, Uncle John, and Uncle Murphy. When I was a kid my dad told me it cost 25 cents to change the radio station to keep me from fucking with the radio in his car. I believed that until I was 14. Don't give strange ideas to some radio or TV broadcaster. Or car company frown. EA Radio. I was told by my dad, when I was around 8 to 9, that the people at the sewage plant have been examining your poop, and need you to eat more fiber. Edit, wrong age. Along the same lines, my parents told me that flushing anything but toilet paper, pee and poop could get me arrested. If you flush something like paper towel, they can track it back to the exact house. Oh, a real tracking cookie. Did that work? Eating too much sugar will glue my ass cheeks together. Thanks Mom. Unrelated to the topic, but funny related story. I long-distance dated a woman once who knew I had a thing for asses, and when we were set to meet the first time, wanted hers to be presentable, and decided to wax her own butthole. But hadn't ever waxed at all before, and didn't know you weren't supposed to let it sit too long, and ended up waxing her butt cheeks together. I doubt it was from the waxing, she probably just ate too much sugar. Are you Eastern European by any chance? I only ever heard this from my Eastern European mom. My grandmother told me that pinching gave cancer. I got pinched once at recess and yelled at the person because I thought they were going to give me cancer. My mother told me basically everything she did not want me to have caused cancer. Salt, cancer. Maraschino cherries, cancer. Anything with any sort of food coloring in it, cancer. Soda, cancer. Spending too much time on TV/computer/video games, cancer. Now pinching fell under things she didn't physically want me doing. Those didn't give you cancer, they gave you blood clots. Is your mother the state of California? Bicycle seats, cancer. Standing at the bus stop, cancer. Drinking water, believe it or not, cancer. One time when I was 5 to 6 I asked my brother how French fries were made and he told me, they inject mashed potatoes into the skins of the fries with a syringe. I believed that until I saw my mom cooking home fries for breakfast one morning when I was 8. Fries for breakfast? My mom rented a Never-Ending Story and Dad told me if I tried to watch it I'd have to sit there forever because it never ended. I remember being thankful for my dad's warning and wondering why Mom would do that to me. What I'm learning from this thread is that dads and brothers are fucking assholes, lol. The absolute truth. But also, I have a lighter story about my granddad who convinced my mom all the 4th of July fireworks were for her since it was her birthday too. Aw, that's sweet. I have a cousin who didn't have a lot of friends growing up, so I started taking her to the Canada Day Parade since it was on her birthday and told her all these people got together because they cared about her. It's small things, but if it can help a kid, why not? The button on your armrest on airplanes is the eject button. I found out it reclines your seat embarrassingly late. When I was a kid my dad always told me not to touch it because it was an emergency button. One time when I was like 5 we were flying to visit family and he fell asleep, so I pressed it a bunch because I was curious. Nothing happened and I fell asleep thinking it must be broken. I woke up in a stroller with my parents upset because the plane had to make an emergency landing and I started crying because I thought it was my fault. This reminds me of when my mean ex-stepfather, who was big, terrifying and cruel, told me to never turn the water on outside, the one that you connect a hose to. My friend across the street, we were like 5, needed water to make mud pies and I accidentally dripped some water onto the cement. I knew he would see it if he got home from work before it dried up. I started crying so hard and right then it started to rain. I started praying and thanking GD for helping me out of that one and promised to never turn on the water again. When my sister and I were kids, our mom lied and told us that she was a Grammy-nominated and winning singer. She said that all of the trophies were in our attic, knowing that neither of us would ever go in and check for them. My sister and I bragged to all of our friends about it for years, only to discover that our mom isn't a very good singer at all. We've held this lie over her head for nearly 20 years now, so this past Christmas, we gifted her with a fake Grammy that has her name engraved in her favorite music category, citing her as the winner of it. She laughed until she cried. When I was 6 my parents told me that when you flush from an airplane toilet, the waste gets dumped mid-air into the ocean. I believed that and told all my friends. Parents then told me they were joking and I became the class fool. See, I thought that as a kid. Not because anyone told me, but in my child mind it made sense. As a result, I was terrified to use a plane bathroom. In the late 90s, I was on a plane with my mom and I needed to go, but refused. Stewardess said that, if I went, I could sit with the pilot for the rest of the flight. I still refused. Now I'm kicking myself cause that's a chance I'd never get again. I was scared that thing could suck your guts out through your ass, lol. This is actually the case for certain old trains, they just dump the waste onto the rails and as a result you're not allowed to use the toilet while the train is at a station. That the draining sound of the water in the bathtub was a monster that would suck you in as well. A lie made to get me out of the bath. I stuck my finger down the plug hole thinking the swirling vortex it made would spin me around like some miniature tornado. Yeah. The fireman who cut me out of the bath didn't laugh either. Okay, but did you spin? I did. Got a lovely scar for my troubles though. So win-win, I guess. And now you can always tell your right hand from your left. My older brother pranked me once. I had watched a kids' TV show, I think it was The Electric Company, that featured a guest star who was a tap dancer. My brother convinced me that tap dancers made their tapping sounds, not with their feet, but with their mouths. I spent the next several weeks trying to tap dance with my mouth noises before my mom made me quit. I'm surprised she lasted that long, tbh. My 5-year-old son is currently on a death metal voice kick. While I generally like metal, and it's kind of adorable, I'm going to get sick of them screaming at the top of his lungs really quick. You can only be yelled at Cheerios and milk please so many times. That guacamole was ground up guacamoles. Dads are great, lol. Customers will ask me what the difference is between pork sausage and Italian sausage. I tell them one is made with pork, and the other with Italians. I said this to one customer and his kid went wide-eyed with horror. It was hilarious. Wait till you tell them where baby oil comes from. I mean, olive oil comes from olives, fish oil comes from fish. Dude, don't lie to people like that. Trust me, grinding up babies does not make baby oil. Plus now I'm banned from the local daycare. The rumble stripes on the side of the road are there to help people who are blind drive. My sister-in-law believed that until she was 32. Never questioned it. I confidently told kids in my class that one year. They believed me, so that the hazard button in a car would blow the car up. Holy shit, I'm not the only one. It's such a scary symbol for a kid, only to find out it just makes the lights blink low. My mom told me this, so I just pressed the button to spite her. I'm sorry, honey, you need to do homework tonight instead of going to Joey's sleepover. Oh yeah? Blows up car. Car doesn't blow up.